welcome to Find a Job Fridays, a joint project of American Matters Media and Join Inc. And we're joined today by our co-hosts, Renee Bonner and Lynette Evans from the Career Center at Join. Welcome.
Thank you, Chip. Happy to be here.
Over the last few weeks, you've done some neat things. You said, here are a number of things to not do, and here are a number of things to do, and all for the purpose of educating those that are unemployed, underemployed, just plain looking for a new job, to prepare them to go out there and talk to employers. And then you've done a clever thing today. You've brought in an employer that's doing hiring, so to hear exactly what they think about things. And so, Lynette, I'm going to let you introduce your guest.
Well, we're so pleased to have with us Jeremy Peterson from Country Financial. And so we want to give Jeremy some time to sort of get used to being on the radio. So we thought we would introduce our topic, which is really very appropriate. It's what do employers want when they are hiring? And we're going to give our take first, and then we're going to give Jeremy a chance to tell us specifically what you're looking for, Jeremy, what kind of skills and characteristics you look for when you hire someone for your team. So as far as what employers want, before we get started, Chip, can we just give the phone numbers in case we have people who want to call in?
Surely. So locally here, it's 775-827-8900. And nationwide, toll-free, 855-790-8255. And if you're shy and you're not really sure you like your voice or your accent or whatever, you can text us at 775-557...
5120.
I think searching for those glasses. Or you can even email a question to us at talk@americanmatters.us.
Thanks, Chip. So one of the things that we often, daily work with our clients about is how to determine what employers are looking for. And employers have lots of ways of signaling those things, but there's some basic categories that you need to be thinking about when you're looking for a job in terms of what employers want. So first and foremost, they're looking at your abilities. Do you have the skills and the experience and the know-how to do the job? And that is measured by how you, not only about what you put on your resume, but also how you communicate, how you handle the initial telephone call when they call to schedule an interview. Can you manage your time? Do you know what your schedule looks like, and can you get there on time? All of those things have to do with, can you do that job? Renee and I have just finished this awesome class on social media, and so something that's another important aspect to be looking at in terms of can you do the job is, what does your social media profile look like? Now, how important that is depends on the kind of job you're looking for, but certainly for any professional job, you need to have a good-looking social media presence. And then if you're offering up your services, for example, as let's say as an administrative assistant, recruiters are going to look at your social media presence to see if you have technical savvy. If you're looking to work on computers, can you show that you've mastered the social media sites, or at least some of them, and know what you're doing there?
I always like the one where they want to see if your cover letter actually has proper grammar. and
that's a big one.
And things are spelled correctly.
That's right.
Yes. And along those lines, we do tell people don't rely on spell checks. So if you say, for example, that you're detail oriented and then you present a resume or a cover letter that isn't properly formatted or has a bullet out of place or a date that's not formatted properly or a word misspelled, you just lost the war of being detail oriented. So
you're in the no pile.
You're in the no pile. So all of the questions that employers ask around can you do the job have to do with tell me about a time when you solved a problem. Tell me about a time when you had to communicate something difficult or had to learn something new. These are all around your capability to do the job. And they're going to signal you specifically what they're looking for in their website, in their job posting, and we teach our clients to go through that job posting with a fine-tooth comb and look for the nouns that talk about the kinds of skills and activities that the person would be engaged in this job.
Hope this isn't too far off the topic, but in a previous show we were talking about when you go in to interview, how you treat the receptionist. And we had a career fair here for veterans here in the Reno Town Mall just yesterday. And sure enough, I was mentioning the throwing the dirty diaper out the window on the way out scenario. And she says, I don't know what people think. Our receptionist writes us notes on everybody that comes through.
Sure.
And we ask her to do that.
Yes.
And so if this person comes in, yes, I'm here for a customer service position, and you're trash, I'm going to save my good manners for the people to count.
That guy.
This is, and you've lost again. You're in the no pile.
Yes.
Well, it's amazing that even by today's standards, that many people don't realize how important that is. That gatekeeper has a lot of power, and they don't make any bones about wielding it. When they're asked, what was your impression of the person sitting there? But in addition to that, you had mentioned just having a job fair here. A lot of potential candidates don't realize the importance of interviewing appropriately, even at a job fair. Many times they still are coming in with ball caps, sideways, and
Bunny slippers
and baggy pants and things that are just not appropriate for a job fair.
And by the way, job fairs have some flavors to them. The job fair yesterday, the people that put that together on behalf of the veterans and veterans' spouses insisted that the companies come prepared to do screening interviews on the site.
Yes.
That, in fact, there were people there from Human Resources or a hiring manager that was prepared to do an interview enough that they would then invite them back in. They would set an appointment for them to come back into the office and have the second set of interviews. So some job fairs are, and companies are guilty of this sometimes. They're just showing the flag.
Sure.
They don't really have much in the way of openings, but they know one day they will, and they're there. But they're saying, well, our company does this. Here's a brochure.
Yes.
And, end of discussion. And you're, ideally prepared to talk about a real job and real work and a real career opportunity.
Well, sometimes what we find is that the job seeker, if they haven't come through our workshop, certainly, they don't know that they can actually stop and ask questions about the people who are and businesses that are being represented at the job fairs. Many of them just, okay, I've got my resume or I've got an app filled out, and they just go from one booth to another and just hand them out. And at that point, they're just hoping and wishing that they get a phone call at some point, without really engaging in that person's business and finding out truly what are the responsibilities day to day in the position that they're looking to get.
And I've been in a booth in a job fair on behalf of an employer, and I do get a sense sometimes that some of the paper that's getting shoved at me is just so they can check it off that I did something about finding a job today.
Sure.
And
some
really
of that.
They're not prepared to engage, and it's sad. Because there was the opportunity to do that, and they bypassed that because they mentally weren't ready. And in some cases, they are better off if they know that about themselves, right?
Absolutely. Because the vendors are looking for them to be confident enough to engage in that kind of dialogue, because they're getting to know the candidate as much as the candidate should be knowing a little something about the business they're hoping to work within.
So the second of these things that employers are looking for is, are you going to be a person that's relatively easy to work with? Are you someone that I really want to be sitting beside or working with day to day? So they're going to ask questions that get to chemistry. How well do we hit it off together? And often in an interview, a candidate will hear questions like, tell me about your last boss. How did you get along? Tell me about a time when you disagreed with your boss and how you handled it. Or when you and a coworker had a conflict about how something was going to get done. So questions like that and your process for handling conflict, because at work we all do deal with conflict every day. So what's your process for handling conflict? How do you deal with something when there's an issue that comes up and maybe a conflict in priorities? Two people above you who both have something they want you to get done right away. How are you going to handle that? Or are you just going to wait until it becomes a crisis? So those kinds of questions help to get at, how are you going to be a person who is going to be easy to work with or not? And those are things that it's a little more difficult to show on a resume, but at Join we often teach our job club clients to bring in letters of recommendation from former bosses, coworkers, even subordinates, if you've been a boss yourself, that attest to the kind of person you are and what it is like to work with you. And that gives great confidence to people that will be considering you for hire, that they might be able to, that you're someone that they're going to be able to work with as well.
Hey, it's Find a Job Fridays here at America Matters Media with Rini and Lynette from Join Inc. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors to talk a little bit more about what employers are looking for when they hire. And welcome back to Find a Job Fridays with the crew from Join. Lynette Evans and Rini Bonner are here. We're talking about what employers are looking for when they hire. So Lynette, you've been through a couple key points. You talked about abilities, which you need to be able to, and then it sounded like the second one was kind of the social impedance matching, right?
Exactly.
Are you our kind of people?
Is there good chemistry? Do I like you? Can I work with you? Can I sit next to you every day? Can I stand hearing the sound of your voice and looking in your eyes every day? So those kinds of questions, that's going to vary depending upon the employer, because different employers are looking for different things.
You know, I just want to reflect a moment back on this job fair environment. You know, there is an impedance matching challenge there. You may be in a line and you may feel like you're in a rush situation where you might not be. And you know, they want to see your enthusiasm even there. They want to see your confidence. They want to see you, what you're looking for with an air of confidence. And sometimes people forget that about job fair environments. They think it's just a paper drop off and somebody will take it and look at it back in the office. And
it's not a postal service.
It's not.
No.
It really is a relationship building opportunity, and if people aren't prepared to go to job fairs and other face-to-face sort of contact venues, then they really shouldn't go because you may do yourself more harm than good. So prepare yourself to meet people and be likable and friendly.
We did talk once before, and I want to reflect on that again. You know, you need to be ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is mentally ready. And you all have taught us here over the weeks, you know, one of the biggest issues is if you just lost a job, there could be this anger, this upset, this loss of confidence, loss of self-esteem or whatever. And until you can actually lose that or overcome it or mask it reasonably well, whatever your coping mechanism device is, in fact, you could be doing damage to yourself out in the marketplace.
And
Yes.
not even know it, because we see it because we're trained to spot it, and usually we can tell within the first week of working with our clients if that's going to be an issue, because it's very difficult to mask if you don't even know it's coming through. And oftentimes the client is unaware that there is that psychological little bit of damage that's been done that they're still hanging on to. So part of what we do, first and foremost, is build their value back up, build their confidence.
So, Chip, we've mentioned a couple things that employers are looking for, and we thought, having Jeremy here from Country Financial, we thought we'd just ask you, Jeremy, to tell us when it sounds like you're actually looking for some staff members, team members right now. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your business and what specifically you look for?
Oh, that's a loaded question there.
I know, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Just tell us about
What was
you.
the first one? First of all, I want to thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity. So Country Financial itself, we've been in business since 1925.
Wow.
Started primarily as a farm, auto, and home insurer. Added the life insurance component in 1929, and then the wealth management side of the business in the 70s.
Funny you don't look that old.
Facial cream. Myself, I've been with the company almost 13 years now.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I graduated college, started a week later as a financial rep myself in Portland, Oregon, and then had a strong passion for the I would say the coaching, the leadership side of things, and decided to go into management, and have now been up here in Reno for the last 9 years running our Northern Nevada agency.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous opportunity. So
you've been here to ride the roller coaster of the local economy and the national economy.
Oh, most certainly, yeah.
Yes.
It's I tell you though, this place is amazing to live. It's just a great community. We spent that 2 years prior in Las Vegas, and there's nothing wrong with Las Vegas, but you certainly get more of a community feeling up here, and it's a great place to be a business owner or to be in business where you can really network and make relationships, and that's been great for my wife and I, and now my 2 boys that have been born here.
Oh,
So
that's great.
great.
Congratulations on having such a nice family.
some days are better than others. But
Jeremy, we're all pretty familiar with the kind of insurance providers that you've just described. What makes Country Financial unique?
Yeah, I would say the one thing that stands out to me, obviously being very biased, is that we try to be the one-stop shop for our clients. A lot of times there's companies, and there's nothing wrong with this, but some companies will just do auto insurance, some will do home, some will just do life, some will just do financial, and we really feel like all of that kind of is intertwined, and so one representative to be able to handle all of that, we think is extremely important. You build a relationship with that person, and they really start to get to know you and your dreams and your goals. So like I said, having one person to be able to advise you on how all that stuff works is what I believe makes us unique.
Okay, so that must mean that you're also looking for a unique combination of skills and chemistry when you look for staff. Tell us a little bit about what you look for.
Yeah, I wish I had one particular thing that I looked for. I mean, when I looked back before I came here at my most successful representatives, let's see, one of them was in retail sales, one was in car sales, one was a mortgage lender, one did architectural design. So it's just it's a varying degree. I think common denominators really is that entrepreneurial spirit, because ultimately, wanting to run their own business in the long run is important, and also just the want or desire to help people, to be able to communicate with people, sometimes some complex products very simply so that they'll understand that, and then again the ultimate desire to help them. That kind of reigns through no matter what background you have.
That's really the common thread, it seems. It seems to me it would be very much a people business, because there would be a huge trust issue.
Yes.
You've got people coming into your home or, going to your establishment and trusting that the product that you have to offer is exactly what they need.
Yeah, so much. It's not only just even on the client side, but our representatives look to network in the community where they might be able to offer guidance to help somebody else out, whether it's with mortgages or real estate. They want to be able to refer that to another trusting partner. So
Okay, so you
Wonderful.
build cross referrals
Yeah.
with partners. Okay.
yeah.
Some of my earliest employment, when I was in college, was actually in insurance. Sold for Penn Mutual, and then I forget the other name of the firm that specialized in disability through businesses or whatever. They ate me alive, these business owners, when I was in college. But I think one of the key characteristics I saw in the folks that were really successful there was almost an empathy quotient where they could put themselves in somebody else's shoes, imagine their situation, and then with their knowledge, be able to create a picture of kind of where they are in the universe of safety and preparedness for going forward. And it was really being able to put themselves cleanly in somebody else's shoes to understand, well, okay, I'm in this situation. What's next, and what should I be aspiring for? And then their ability to talk to that. So I remember one guy who really impressed me. One of the best listeners I've ever run across in my entire life. And you know, top salesman, you'd think, you know, it's all shucking and jiving and shiny shoes and all that sort of stuff. But actually, it was just this very empathetic, but very professional listening and questioning in a way that both built trust at the same moment and at that very same moment created a real picture that they could work from and say, okay, I understand what shoes you're wearing, and let me tell you what I can do for you.
You're so correct. I mean, obviously insurance and retirement is a very intangible product. It'd be nice if you could touch, feel, you know, see it, but the best ones will paint that picture. What does retirement look like for you? You know, if you're in an accident, what does that look like? What kind of coverage do you want? And being able to kind of listen to what they say and then kind of design a product or a plan that's specific for them, you know, as much as a tangible plan as we can give them. So.
And by the way, very often it was letting that person discuss their relationships with their family members. You know, tell me, you know, what do you hope for your kids? You know, are you thinking, you know, they're all going to be PhDs and you want to provide for that? Or are you thinking it's trade school after high school guy or whatever, you know, and just understanding, you know, does your wife work separately? Would you want her to if this happened? And just getting that sense of, you know, what their values are and their relationships.
Yeah, you're so correct.
So say a little bit more. Let's say I were thinking about pursuing an opportunity with your company. What kind of, you mentioned that people come from all different industries, but what kind of skills would you need me to have? The people skills, the desire to help. What would you want to see on my resume?
Yeah, I would say a sales background is nice, always to see on the background, but really your ability to communicate. You know, when I interview college graduates, they're like, well, does this degree work or does this degree work? You know, and I would say yes. Business, communication, they all work. Can you, again, as we talked about, relate to people? Can you get them, are you a good listener? So, you know, not even necessarily looking for something on the resume, but when I'm sitting down with them and I tell them something, are they really engaged into that? How do they make me feel? How do I feel comfortable and want to share with them as well? So
a college degree sounds like that's kind of an
it helps
important
quite
one.
a bit, and not necessarily, you know, because of that education level or anything. It just shows that you started something and you complete something, and there are obviously licenses in doing what we do. So it kind of shows that you're able to probably pass some exams and to be able to get those state licenses and those national licenses. So yeah.
Okay, and what could I look forward to? Oh, I see. We're coming down to the end. When we come back, I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about if I were to be hired, what would that training process look like, the licensure process, and if you can share a little bit about how people get compensated.
And if you have questions for Jeremy, 775-827-8900, 855-790-8255. We'll be back.
You're listening to Find a Job Fridays with Renee Bonner and Lynette Evans from Join in Reno. And we have as our guest today, Jeremy Peterson from Country Financial. And Jeremy, you were just telling us a little bit about the kind of people that you look for when you're looking to hire. These are sales representatives for your company. Is that what you call them?
Financial representatives, fancy title, yeah.
Financial consultants,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And let's say you and I hit it off, and you make me an offer. Now, tell me what my first 6 months are going to look like.
I'm so glad you asked that, because there's kind of a misconception in our industry, or you know, and right, wrong, or indifferent. You know, a lot of companies, it's 100% commission. It's here's the phone book and very little training and good luck. And we hope you bring in some business, or at least we get your friends and family type of thing. And again, we're very countercultural to that. You know, we're going to put you through a little bit more of an interview process. us and be a little bit more picky, I guess, to say. But that all that, when that comes down to it, we're going to give you a lot more training and support, all the way down to a salary, and a lot of things that they don't expect from our industry.
Wow.
So your first 6 months, really, your first month is you don't even really talk to a client. We really, obviously, you've gone and gotten your licenses, but now we have to teach you, how is this actually applicable to a client?
Sure.
What do I really need to do? How do I quote somebody, or what do I do with wealth management? And if they tell me I have money, so we take you through pretty extensive training, both in-house, down in Las Vegas a little bit. We're headquartered in Bloomington, Illinois, so we send you back there.
Wow.
Beautiful Bloomington for a little bit.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't wait.
So,
Can we say polar Arctic zone or whatever?
oh, it's been cold there, that's for sure. So we'll send you back there for a little bit, and then when you come back, it's even more training with myself, with our marketing business consultant. So really helping you put together what am I gonna do? What groups am I gonna get involved in? Who am I gonna go talk to, and how am I gonna go talk to them? So again, an extensive amount of training while you're receiving that salary, and then we're gonna start going on some joint appointments where I can go with you and kind of be that safety net for you.
That's nice.
But
Okay.
ultimately building your clientele base and uncovering those needs, and then, like I said, putting together some plans for people. So.
And how long would you be mentoring me if I were a new
Well,
hire?
let's see. I've got one rep that's been around for 22 years, and I still go visit her. So I won't throw any names out. So no, I'm there. I would say I'm extremely involved those first 2 to 5 months. Very, very hands-on. And then I'm in the same office as my representatives, so I'm always still there after that. But I start to pull back a little bit. But I just make sure that I'm there for, like I said, whether it may be joint appointments. I put on trainings for our office. There's constantly products that are training and things like that. So I would say I'm pretty involved all the way through your career, just even to that 21 plus year veteran that I can go and just provide some new insight to maybe some of her clients.
Or some
So-
support too.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Sure, they've been around that long. I was going to ask you, Jeremy. At one point, let's say that you've hired Lynette. And
You've got the job. So.
Don't tell my boss.
somehow or other, she's miscast for the position. At what point do you know that? And how do you handle those things? Those are tough issues.
They really are, and I don't give up until the representative gives up on themselves. A perfect situation is I had a rep that was really struggling all the way up until about their 1 year mark. They were barely hanging around, but man, they were working hard. They were doing all the right things. And it was about month 13, month 14, and something just clicked. All the effort and relationships, and it takes months and months of talking with someone and building that trust, possibly before they'll do business with you. And literally something clicked, and now he's at his 3 year mark, and he's one of my most successful representatives I have.
That's
So
a great story.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And, one of my experiences in and around the insurance industry was that for many companies and for many reps, the idea is that this is a very independent operation. They become their own little business and responsible for their own little marketing, and they get to join in on some group things. But I think one of the things that I noticed is that some people got into that very early on, realizing, geez, we've got a great general manager, this guy's going to train me, I'm in with a group of people I really like. But then the life that they actually live to do it didn't involve that group anymore, and they began to realize some people really do well on their own and are very self-motivated and self-actualizing, and other people, frankly, will do a great job, but they need people around them. They need to feel part of a group, and there's a psychological mindset. And I'm just wondering how you sort those folks out, or maybe just based on your model being a little less lone wolfish for the rep that's out there.
Yeah, my boss actually, she read a great article and shared with me. It was cop, coach, consultant, and we go through different stages with that rep. So no matter what, no matter how free you want to be, I'm going to start out as a cop. I'm going to really be plugged in and kind of making sure you're doing those daily activities. But the sooner you demonstrate that you want me to kind of step back and that you're already doing those right things, then I can become more of a coach, not have to have you punch a time card in and punch a time card out. I know you're out there doing the things you need to do. And then all the way up to that, that 20 year plus rep where I'm just a consultant. I can just come in and maybe offer a little advice on this is what I saw this person do well. Maybe that would be great for your business.
Now, some people don't really know enough about themselves, or they haven't worked independently, and they take an opportunity like this. Now, at Join, you actually do assessments.
I was just thinking about that, Jim.
Yes.
The assessments we do at Join really give people some great feedback. The thing you were talking about earlier about being driven to help people, that comes up in all of our assessments. Are you driven to help people, or would you rather work, on things that don't have anything to do with helping others? Do you need to work around other people, or do you kind of like being independent and doing your own thing? So a lot of those characteristics we do measure in our pre-employment assessments at Join.
And it also helps us figure out what kind of training they're going to need as well. Because if it's not going to be a good fit, it's a bad situation for both the employer and for the candidate as well.
Yeah, I tried never to give up on someone until they give up on themselves.
Yeah,
so
that's great to know.
Yeah.
Great to know.
So many of the things that you've said in the last few minutes parallel how we work with our clients in our job club. And it's interesting because the process of looking for work is about relationship building. It's about selling yourself. And we as coaches do the 3-part thing that you're talking about, cop, coach, consultant.
Oh.
We do that. We've never used that terminology.
We're
but-
going to start.
Yeah, we will.
What's the appropriate term if a whip is involved?
No whips. Are
No
allowed.
whips.
That's not HR friendly. I don't know.
Well, is there anything else, Jeremy, but before we turn it back to you, let me just say if people are listening and have questions for Jeremy, let's give the phone numbers again, 827-8900 or 855-790-8255 if you're looking for toll free. You can text us at 775-557-5120 or email your questions to talk@americamatters.us. So anything else you want to highlight in terms of what you're looking for, how many people you're looking for, how can they get a hold of you?
So obviously I run all of Northern Nevada, but I really am looking to grow in the Reno and Sparks area. So looking to add somebody in Reno and somebody in Sparks. Our slogan, and I do like it quite a bit, is we're looking for people that want to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And that's kind of our culture, and the culture that I've tried to build with us. And ways that they can reach me, we have a website that's dedicated just to the financial representative position. So if you want to kind of just peruse that, it's countrycareer.com, or you can call me directly at 775-829-1011. And we can kind of go from there and kind of have an open forum just to see if it might be a good fit or worth pursuing any further.
So you welcome that initial phone call. Hey, I just heard you on the radio. I'm thinking
definitely.
about sales, but Jeremy, I've never done it before. Would you have a chat with me? You'd be okay to have somebody just pick up the phone and call you.
Absolutely. I think, again, Reno's just a great place to be and meet people. So I just love chatting with them. And if it's not the right fit, maybe I know somebody that can give them a career, or somebody that is a right fit for them.
Wow.
There
and just
you
kind of
go.
move forward. So again,
I really love how generous that is. Many employers are less generous with their time. Give that phone number one more time.
again, it's area code 775-829-1011.
And the website is countrycareer.com.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. And so the best way to apply is just to call you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
and
great.
we'll have a conversation and kind of go from there.
That's
All right.
wonderful.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank thank you guys
Jeremy.
for having me. This was an absolutely phenomenal experience, and so I got the face for radio. I can confirm. So,
If you'd like to hang out, and there may be some other things that come up or people who call in and want to talk specifically to you. So we'd love to have you hang out a little longer and just be part of the conversation.
would love to. Yes.
All right, we're going to continue our conversation about what employers are looking for. So, Rini, you and I were talking about how to tell if you're going to be satisfied with the job.
Yes, that is going, a lot of people that will first come in to join, they come in with the attitude, I want a job, any job, I'll take whatever job you have out there. And we have the big timeout sign and say, nope, that's not going to work for you. We want you to be targeted. So Lynette was talking about the assessments that we do that help us think about not just their skill sets, but their personalities, their behaviors, what kinds of work are going to be more appropriate, more satisfying for them, so they stick at the job, so they're not looking at something else. Okay, well, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you for joining us on Find a Job Fridays. We'll see you in a bit. And welcome back to Find a Job Fridays here with Chip and Rini and Lynette and a special guest. I want to say a special guest star, Jeremy Peterson with Country Financial. Before we left, we were talking a little bit about, really being satisfied with a particular job that you're looking to get. And that's where we start getting into a lot of assessments, or several assessments at Join. And it's important that we utilize these tools that are available to us because, again, although skills are very important, we're also going to be looking for commitment to the kind of work that you're looking to do, meaning that you want to stay with it for a longer period of time. And we also want to be sure that the chemistry is right for the job as well. That seems to be a very important component to employers today. And we were talking with Jeremy earlier about that sense of commitment and chemistry. Jeremy, it seems as though it's almost become 50% of the job, the satisfaction of the job, or whatever the employer is looking for in their hiring processes, not just skills sets, but how well are they going to do with the rest of the group?
Yeah, I know one of the things that we do and that I'd encourage anybody to do when they're looking for a job, we have them do some projects. And one of the projects is actually to interview one of our reps. And it's anonymous, and I think that part is important, so that way my representatives feel free to tell that person what it's really like. And I think, again, it serves two purposes. Is one, gives me an idea of if that person actually did it and followed through, but it gives that person a sense of what's the culture really like. You might be telling me one thing, but they're telling me something completely different, or what does this job really entail? So I'd always encourage people to reach out to someone that works there, especially maybe someone that's worked there for the first 6 months, and then one that's worked there for a while, because they're going to be different experiences. So.
And we do talk about with our clients that process of informational interviewing. It does two things. It gives you a sense of what it's like to work there, but it also builds a relationship, and perhaps through that you might get an advocate who could help you actually get the job at the employer. I
know I put a lot of stock in just not necessarily what exactly was said, but what do you think about that person when they talk to you? Do you think they'd fit our culture? Because again, they might fit the job, but the culture you guys mentioned of the office or of the location, I want to make sure I'm not going to bring somebody in that's a cancer to that office. So I want them to kind of fit what we're looking for on a culture side too.
The employment dance is really something that you have to be conscious of. Different people are in the sales role at different times. There's a time where you're coming in to try to sell them on, I want you to consider me. And then, they take that in and son of a gun, you're successful. Now all of a sudden it turns around, they're trying to sell you. And the thing is be careful what you ask for, because that's the moment where, so if you get an offer, what are you going to do?
Now what?
And frankly, sometimes some companies will oversell both the job, oversell the company's position. You really do need to do the research either before or in the middle of the process as it becomes more real, and try to find, different aspects, different points of information that are not all just through the recruiter, because the recruiter's job is to fill that job.
Paint a pretty picture.
Right.
And-
And I think that that's a fine line that many employers have to walk because they really do want to sell the job, the position. And I know particularly in sales, a lot of the phrases that I have certainly heard in my past life is, well, you can make as much money as you want, but they never really talked about how you have to do that.
And my top agent made $20,000 last year.
Yeah, exactly right.
But he didn't want any more, apparently.
So I really do appreciate, Jeremy, the fact that you're so willing to sit down and talk about the day-to-day responsibilities and the, a little bit of the grind, that they're going to have to get through to really get to that point where they are successful.
Yeah, that happens a lot, especially in our industry, where
Sure.
recruiters will sell them on how great the opportunity is, and I truly believe it is a phenomenal opportunity for the right person.
There you go.
So I really try to paint a realistic picture of yes, it's a great opportunity, but yes, it's going to be tough.
One of the stories that comes to my mind, I was probably about 21 years old at the time. We were living in Florida, and I was pretty footloose and fancy free and very confident, or stupid, one of the two. I don't know which it was.
A little of both.
A little of both, probably. And I remember I was going to interview on Palm Beach Island for this attorney's office. Now, I could barely type at this point, right? So I go in there, and during the interview, his executive secretary is in there, and she's asking me questions like, so do loud noises bother you? And I thought, wow, that's kind of an odd question. And I said, no, I think I'm okay with that. And she goes, what about tantrums? How do you react to tantrums?
Run.
run. And silly me didn't run, but I only did last for about 2 weeks in that job because it was an insane asylum over there. It was crazy. So it's really good to have, as hard as she tried to paint a picture of how bad that was really going to get. Sometimes our candidates just choose to ignore those signals, and they should be paying attention to them.
Absolutely. There is, everyone has special gifts and talents, and they need to be used in the right place, in the right way. So we really discourage people from, even if you're desperate, from communicating that desperation by saying, I just need a job, any job. I guarantee you that isn't the case for you. You need a job that fits your capabilities and your preferences. You may not get the perfect job now, but you at least need to find something that matches who you are as a human being and as a worker. So
That's so correct. And like I said, I've hired some really phenomenal people that just they weren't the right fit, and that's okay. It's not everybody is fit for this position or for any position. So you're so correct in just finding what's right. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy coming to work and doing every day?
right.
So
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time on that subject at Joint because, many of our clients that we get in today are a little more on the mature side, and some of them have actually held down a job for, somewhere between 12 and 20 years. So when the axe comes down, again, they've got a little chip on their shoulder. So we encourage them to take the time now and explore the possibilities of getting the right fit in the dream job that they deserve
well,
to have.
you can fake enthusiasm for a short period of time, but
Yep.
eventually it's going to wear out.
Yep.
And are you going to dread going to work every day, or like I said, are you going to find something you're extremely passionate about, and then you don't have to fake it, and you're going to wake up every morning looking forward to go in, and there's going to be tough days in any career,
Sure.
Right.
but you'll get through it.
Yes.
Life is so much better when you like your work.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I just really want to compliment you on your orientation. The truth is a lot of people don't know how a job's going to work out for them till they've been into it a little bit. And really that ought to be a no harm zone. It doesn't have to be an angry thing. It doesn't have to be you're a failure. It's just, there's probably no way you could properly describe what that person's life is going to be like relative to all the things that are going on in their life and all of their characteristics and all their shyness and whatever they bring to that job. You can get a basic picture of it, but it might not be the right fit. And if there's this understanding that, you're talking about building a career here, if it's not working for you, I am your biggest fan to go find the next thing that's going to help you be successful, because you deserve that. That's where you really ought to be, right?
I'll tell you too is let's fast forward and say you're offered multiple positions, or you find out during the interview process it's not right for you. I find that so many people make the mistake of just not returning phone calls or just disappearing, and I would say that's the worst thing you can do. If you leave a good, hey, I'm sorry, this career isn't right for me, thank you so much for your time. You never know when that company will be hiring for a different position, or it's a different stage in your life, and especially in Reno. Being a small place, that person might be able to do something for you down the road. So communication all throughout the interview process, from the candidate and from the employer is so important. But I find that once that candidate realizes, okay, this isn't the right fit, they just disappear. And I'd rather them just tell me no, and that's fine. I don't think any less of them, and that's just great that they found the right fit, but just don't disappear.
I'm so glad that you said that. Actually, I think from the candidate experience, the reverse is so true as well. Candidates are often told, now we won't leave you hanging, we promise you, we'll contact you, and then weeks go by and they make a follow-up phone call, 2 follow-up phone calls, and they hear nothing. And then maybe a month or 6 weeks later, they finally get a letter in the mail, if anything, that says we went a different direction and chose someone else. So it's really refreshing to hear someone who's in the decision-making seat say what you've just said. It's great advice for the job seeker. It's also great advice for the employer, and who knows, the tables may be turned someday.
Yeah, I can tell you in the 9 years I can count on my hand, how many times people have actually written me a nice thank you note that just says, hey, thank you for the opportunity, this didn't work out. And I can tell you those people are always on my mind, even if it was 8 years ago. If I ever can find them the right place, and then it's just a touch of class during that interview process that goes a long way.
Oh.
That says a lot about your company, the integrity of your company and who you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I want to hear about Join really quickly.
We are a federally funded nonprofit organization that specializes in short-term training. And once you've had your short-term training, Lynette and I will take very good care of you and help you build your resume, teach you how to interview like a rock star, and prepare you for your next job.
And orientation is Monday mornings at 10 o'clock at
1201 Terminal Way. That's the corner of Vassar and Terminal. Or you can simply call our office at 775-336-4450, and our wonderful receptionist Irene will answer your call and put you in touch with a representative who can help you determine if you can qualify for our government-funded program.
So I hope you heard some good things today on Find a Job Fridays. We'll be back next week.